Howdy voters. Today is it's Saturday the 6th of May, and welcome to the 6 o'clock swallow, or the 6 o'clock swill. What's that, I hear you gasp? Well, it all originates from Australia, and way back in 1916, supposedly to help the war effort and to keep the workers on the straight and level, the government of the time, under extreme pressure from people like the Women's Temperance League, decided to close all the hotel bars at 6 p.m. and that was where most of the drinking was done in those days. I'm not sure if it actually covered pubs, but I don't think so, because the photos you can see, which I'll put up here, will show you that the custom in the hotel bars was huge, and even way back into the 70s and 80s, where bands like Cold Chisel were singing out their life story, how they grew up. It seemed that it was all about hotel bars and not pubs, you know. So someone maybe who knows Australia better than I do can comment. You know, I've got an Australian friend, Greer, who may catch this video on Facebook, so maybe he can comment. So, in the interest of hard work and public morality, the government agreed to close all the hotel bars at 6 p.m. Now, people knocked off work in general in those days at 5 p.m. So they only had 1 hour in which to get enough alcohol in them to get them through the rest of the day. And as they were Aussies, that should be a lot. So we gradually evolved the phenomenon that was called the 6 o'clock swallow, in the lead up to the unholy hour, people would drink as many beers as fast as they could, and line up beers on the bar for themselves. I mean, they couldn't stay there indefinitely after time had been called and leisurely drink 10 pints that they bought. No, you know, at sort of 10 past, quarter past 6, they had to be out of the place. So it really was a 6 o'clock swill, and it caused all sorts of trouble with drunkenness and, you know, rowdy behaviour and God knows what else. And this kind of behaviour just seems just so typical of Britain, the way they treat their population. And they've been, first they lie to them, they lied to the British public at the beginning of the First World War that actually I think it was the Boer War, that income tax will be a temporary measure to get extra funds, and it will be repealed as soon as victory was won. And of course people are still paying income tax now, and the Aussies did exactly the same, pulled exactly the same trick on the Australian population by saying it was a wartime expedient. And of course, in some states in Australia, the bloody 6 o'clock swallow wasn't repealed until sometime in the late 50s and early 60s, depending on where you went. You know, it must have been a bloody horrendous time, and the whole thing evolved, and it set the method and the tone of the way Australians attack alcohol. Like, the design of bars completely changed to enable as many people as possible to get served in as short a time as possible. Billiard halls and pool halls were ripped out and turned into new bars or extensions of bars. They were running hose pipes from the beer taps directly to the server's position so they could just hose the beer in, and Christ knows what else. It was absolutely awful. It must have been absolutely an appalling time to try to socialise in Australia. So from 6 p.m. tonight until 6 p.m. tomorrow night, alcohol is banned. Not only in bars and restaurants, but you can't even buy it in the 7-Eleven either. So it's a complete washout. And so it's about 2 o'clock in the afternoon now, so I've used it as an excuse. It triggered this thing off in my mind, so let's use it as an excuse to come down the pub, have a couple of beers and make a video. So that's what I'm doing, the 6 o'clock Swill, and that's exactly what I'm doing now. But I did take precautions. This morning I went to the supermarket and bought a couple of cases of beer, which I normally wouldn't bother buying, but I'm not going to have any faceless bureaucrat telling me whether I can drink a bleeding beer or not. So that's what I've done. I mean, it seems it's always the way in this country that the slightest reason for, anything, they immediately ban alcohol. And it's a holiday destination, for Christ's sake. The place is crawling with people that have paid huge amounts of money to come here, and one of the things they want to do is go down the pub and have a beer. And so for this weekend there are 24 hours, vital nighttime 24 hours where they can't get any beer, and all the discos and all the nightclubs will be closed for sure. And the same thing is going to happen next weekend as well. They're just bloody crazy. Well, they're bleeding selfish, if you ask me, but they're just bloody crazy. But just going back to Australia in 1916, it seems like nothing is new. You look at the news, and British news anyway is crawling with these bloody woke activists trying to stop people from conducting their normal lives, telling us what we can and can't do, telling us what we can and cannot watch on the TV, and Christ knows what else. But nothing is new, because the same nasty were around at the beginning of the century, masquerading under the title of the Women's Temperance League, or that'll do for one. I'm sure there were more, but we don't like X, Y, and Z. Therefore, you're not going to do it. They're wokes. Nothing is new. Well, at least in those days. Well, no, they weren't ignored. Look at what happened in Australia, and in the end, in the USA in the 20s, they had their way with prohibition too. For how long did prohibition go on for? 10 years or something like that. The whole country went dry, all because of these. Going to have to do some serious editing around this. Facebook would have a ball with it if I put it out like that, but if you hear some bleeps or some very quick silences, I'm sorry, but I was saying some not very nice words, but they can't stop me from feeling the way I do about certain people. Anyway, it's an excuse to come down the pub, and I won't use the same excuse next week. Well, until next week. Part of me rolls around, of course, but the video editing is going all right, and you may or may not have seen that I'm delving it more into photo editing as well, and colorizing photos and cleaning up old photos and doing this, that, and the other, just chipping away at it, gradually learning. In video editing, I'm dipping my toes into masking and green screen and all that kind of stuff. You know, I won't need it in this video, but there we are. So anyway, sorry for the bad language. I hope you enjoy the video. I hope wherever you are, the pubs are open, and see you soon. Bye bye.